No más.
And I'm going to be, for a minute, I haven't done live for a while. I do with some of my church stuff, so we're going to talk to both the live and you guys, but primarily to you guys.
I'm sorry?
Primarily, we're going to be talking to you guys tonight.
All right.
If we got some folks that straggle in, we'll put them in.
Okay.
But, so my name is Greg Kirkowski. I'm with Kirkowski Insurance Agency. Hi to everybody online. If you're out there, you're going to follow along. We'll send you some of the documents that we have that these folks here are going to be following along with that you can fill out later, and we'll get that back with you at the end of it. But my background is this. I'm going to go through this in just about 5 minutes. Just a quick background. 48 years old. I'm on my second marriage. I got 10 kids together. I've kept all my kids. So, I was born and raised by my grandfather primarily, so I'm really a family guy, pretty old-fashioned. Open the doors for ladies, never walk ahead of my wife, flowers, all that stuff. So I'm pretty old-fashioned. Graduated from Elizabeth High School in 1990. When I was young, I always wanted to really help and serve people. That's really where my passion was, is to just really want to help and serve. So I went to the Air Force. When I was younger, I was starting little businesses, selling bikes and candles and all that stuff. I was an entrepreneur from a little guy. Decided to go serve in the Air Force. My uncle was the highest ranking enlisted at the time, Senior Chief Master Sergeant at San Antonio. So I followed his footsteps and ended up putting some bars on my shoulders, so that was a little bit different. But, I went to the Air Force Academy and did that and served 8 active years and 2 reserve, Desert Storm, all those fun things, different stuff. Out of the years, there's about 4 years I could tell you what I did, and the other years I can't tell you what I did. They were just different places I went. But, in the Air Force, I started figuring out that I wanted to do more than just get up and go home to work, home to work, home to work. There's nothing wrong with that. I just watched my father and my parents do that, and it didn't leave a lot of time. They were spending more time making a living instead of making a life. My brother became a quad at a young age. I pulled him out of the water, so a whole different experiences happened.
Wow.
Whole different stuff. Sleeping Bear Dunes, dove into a wave, pulled him out at 15. And
Beautiful place, but a terrible thing to happen.
well, so I went through some changes young, and I watched planning happen for my parents, and my brother instantly lost movement. And the planning and the financial and insurance and Social Security and disability and the hospitals and all that stuff. And it really started going to me as I started serving that I wanted to do something else. So I started buying little companies while I was in the Air Force. And I was making more money there than I was in the military, so I could get out of my commission. I was able to leave without any hesitation. I ended up moving back in 2000 because my brother was a quad, had a bed sore. I wanted to move back home and take care of him. And in that time, I partnered up with some companies locally here, and I got to where I could find struggling companies and help them grow. I'd go in and I'd fire all the folks that weren't doing well or shouldn't be there and build it up. And then I'd go as far as I could, and they'd say, go home, see you later. Because they're all family-owned businesses, so I could only go so far. So back in 2006, I decided, because of what happened to myself in 2001, I had a car accident, was clinically dead for 9 minutes, busted my occipital condyle, had to learn to walk and talk and breathe all over again. I went through all that, myself, and I watched my brother go through that, and I thought, let's figure out what we can do to help people do some planning. And I had people that wanted me to do different types of planning before. I had a 4-year law degree in the military. I didn't do much with it. I was going to be a prosecuting attorney and a family attorney. And the lawyers that I was mentoring under said, do you want to raise a family or do you want to be an attorney? And I said, well, I'd like to raise a family. They said, well, you don't want to be an attorney. Because the logic was I wouldn't have been home. So I took that training in 2006 and decided to open my insurance company. Never did ever do anything with insurance, other than what I watched with experiences. And I'm keeping myself on track here. And, just watching what my parents went through with the medical stuff and the hospitals and the payments and keeping up with all that. And then when I went through it with car insurance and life insurance and all that went through, I settled 2 different estates when my grandparents were killed in a car accident. So I watched the trust side of it and the income side of it and all these different things. So when I opened my insurance company, I didn't know anything about it. I just knew I wanted to help people. I worked for a company for about 1.5 years became their top advisor, just knowing what people wanted. And I parted ways because I wanted to do what they wanted instead of what the insurance company wanted to do. They wanted to sell product that was just good for them, for their wallet, rather than what was going to help folks. So I branched off and opened up Starlight Enterprises in Vicksburg in 2006. Right next to not right next to Stubby's, but two over. There was Stubby's there, then the one next to it, but the one next to that was open. I went out and knew the owner and the son, and actually the son that helped me when we came up with the logo, and I got that actually candle holder was made in Shipshewana for me. It sits on my shelf, and it was Starlight Advisory Team. And I stayed there for close to 10 years. When I went through my divorce, different things, I reorganized my company back in about 2015. And when I started my company, I decided that I wanted to find a place to get good. My grandmother owned up an insurance company, and she did real estate. My partners were trying to get me to go into home and auto. And I didn't want to hang a shingle up and have all these 90 things that you thought I could do when you walked in my office. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to open up an insurance company. I'm going to base myself on retirement planning, not knowing anything about it. Be very open with you. I just knew what I'd watched. So I partnered up with a handshake agreement with Miller Canfield, and I knew Jack from being at the country club, and he helped us with wills and trusts and Medicaid planning, and long-term care planning, seizures, and how to protect assets and things. So I got good at that through partnerships. And a partnership with a gentleman that owns, over 30 or owns and operates over 30 care units. That his first unit's over in Lawton, and I got good at understanding nursing homes and long-term care and hospice and assistant, and what would happen with that and how to protect your state. And I partnered up with a buddy of mine that opened up a PNC agency, Mike Charlotte, Three Rivers, that he did home auto. And so and then I had two CPAs, St. Associates in Battle Creek, and then one locally in Portage. And I didn't know any of that stuff. I just knew that they knew. And they didn't know what I knew, so we all knew what we didn't know and shared what we did. So when you came into my office, I'd openly tell you, I don't know all these things, but I can help you do it, and we can sit in one place, and we can either get everybody in my office or sit on the phone and talk. So, everybody made me look really intelligent, but I openly said, hey, I don't want to know all these things, but we can help you find answers here and give you discounts through doing all these things. So it worked out well. I grew my office with these two things. I didn't buy a book of business. Today we have over $40 million in assets. And that's just from these two things right here. I didn't buy an agency and go on the road. From that, in 2008 and 9, with the clients I had, did a lot of income planning, life insurance, long-term care. The market took a tank. And at that point, in our industry, we couldn't do really any income planning or didn't know much about Social Security. The income planning was held by corporations. They were held by you went to a job, you invested your money in a pension plan or a 401k, and they would give you a pension. And my dad was a VP for General Mills, and he retired from General Mills and got a pension and got a 401k. Pensions today are like the dodo bird. They've kind of disappeared, and we think we see them every once in a while on certain islands, and they show up depending on where you're at. But pensions were really held by corporations. We couldn't offer them to you as advisors. 401k is a pension. You spend it down and it's gone, it's gone. So there's no income guarantee. So what happened was in 2008 and 9, for agencies that were good and weren't black marked, the insurance commission said, we're going to let you start selling pensions. Well, the black mark we had to get through was pensions were funded by the word that everyone thought they didn't like. Well, they're funded by equity indexed annuities. So then I started doing seminars at the country club in our town, and I'd ask these people, how many people like your pension? They'd all raise their hand. How many people like annuities? They'd all drop their hand. And I'd say, well, none of you guys like your pension. And it was interesting because I got a chance to fly to Minneapolis, Minnesota, learning when my dad was retired and talked to the human resources funding. And I said, how are you going to guarantee my parents' income for life if I'm going to go help all these people guarantee theirs? Because they know where I live on Portage Road. I built a house with a big red barn, everybody knew where I live. They're going to hump me down with their investments with me. If I tell you it's guaranteed. So I sat with him, and he said, Greg, when General Mills has this big bucket of money and people retire, we don't manage that. We can't guarantee that for life or their spouse. We buy an equity indexed annuity through Fidelity or American Equity or whoever we're doing it with. And the insurance company takes care of it and General Mills puts their name on it and they offer the guaranteed income for life and it's an insurance policy. Well, that's what I'm getting ready to do. So there was kind of a different pivot for me at that point that I understood, okay, I'm going to find a new market. The market took a bit of a tank again in 8 and 9. Then it took an adjustment that was about 4 years late. It was coming already. So no one knew about Social Security, which is why you're kind of here today. Social Security is a puzzle of your retirement. It's a piece. We're going to talk about that as soon as I can get this out and quit talking. But I want to give you a preface of why you're here. Then I learned about Social Security, and I read the whole book. If you can't sleep, I'll give it to you. It'll be just sleep in just a few minutes. But I learned in 2008 and 9 that nobody advisors wanted to learn about Social Security. And people were going to their advisors and go, hey, I'm getting ready to retire. Can you tell me about Social Security? And they'd say, well, go to the office. Go to the office, just to make an appointment. Well, that's an important part of your portfolio. It never really was, but it always has been, but nobody knew that. They didn't know how to use it to manage your estate. They just thought it was a piece I was going to get, and I don't know how to take it or when to take it. I'm just going to listen to my brother's uncle's cousin who digs pools that told me that he took it then, and that's what I'm going to do. There was a lot of advisors up until that point telling you how to do it. That part of the estate. So I got good at that. And all of that came together with full estate plan. That's where I found my sweet spot, was helping people in retirement. I can still help younger people. I can still help, married couples that are young and growing and individuals. Up until 2015, I had about 8 advisors. And to be honest with you, can I be honest with you?
Sure.
It wasn't fun. I didn't get a chance to do my job. I spent time babysitting because nobody wanted to work. There was a few people that wanted to help people, but most of them wanted to play office. So it was always putting out fires. So after my divorce in 2015, my son got into a car accident out on Lawton. He almost was killed. They took his skull off. I spent months up at Mary Free Bed. It took him.
I've been there.
Yep, I was there in 2016. We were on the 3rd floor.
Oh, really? That was us.
He spent months up there. Isaac had it 15.
Great people, though.
Oh yeah. So I'll openly tell you. I hope it doesn't offend you. God is important in my life. That's how I run my company. At that point, we shut our company down. Jack said, "Greg, close your company. You're going through your divorce at the same time. You're keeping your 5 kids. You just shut your company down. God will provide, and go from there." Well, I took it on a 1-minute prayer. Here we are. So up until about 2018, I didn't operate my agency out of my home. I just did a little business while I was helping Isaac heal for 2 years. He had to learn to walk and talk and breathe all over again. Okay, so I took 2 years off of my work life, and we did financially bits. We went from here to here to here to here, following God, knowing that it's going to work out. And it hurt, but I enjoyed what I did. So now we're out of that. I'm not going to open up an office with a bunch of agents anymore, but I am going to open up another office. We're looking to buy a new home. We're back to that area back in February. And whether it's in Schoolcraft or Vicksburg or Portage, wherever it is, we're going to reopen. Right now I'm just operating out of my house, and most people want to come here somewhere to talk anyways. I spent $40,000 opening up that office, and about 2% of the people ever came in my office. Nobody walks into an insurance office and says, "Hey, can I buy a life insurance?" They want to meet in their home. So that's why I do what I do. I have a passion for it. So, just kind of the different semantics of here. There's an internet thing that keeps popping up. I don't know what it is. You already know where the bathroom is, so we don't have to go through that. As we talk to the people online, you don't have to go to the bathroom here. You can go to the bathroom in your house. Feel free to get up and wander around if you need to, ask questions. Fill out the survey there that you have. It's the one on your left side. Obviously my intention, and I'm very honest and clear, is to get an appointment to sit down with you without any hesitation and no pressure to see if we can offer something different for you. I openly tell you that. Keep your purse and your wallet and your pocketbook because you'll never pay me a dime. Okay? I get paid very differently. Whether you do business with me or not, at least you get a free evaluation that I used to charge $250 for. Most advisors do. I actually lost business when I decided at Mary Free Bed that I wasn't going to charge people anymore. I decided a different path I was going to follow, and I've had people say, "Well, you don't charge me, so there's no value in your services." So my goal is to get an appointment with you and meet with you another time, openly. I've already said that. So what we're going to do is this. Excuse me, this signal keeps going. If I keep moving, it'll be fine. So this is what we're doing. Ask some questions, maybe write them down. I want to get done right at 7:15 so you guys can eat on time. As you can tell, I'm not a very good talker. I'm not very social. So you kind of have to slow me down. So.
Right? Poor thing.
But I'm going to go through these slides today, and I don't know why it keeps doing this. I'm going to go through the slides today, and primarily we're going to talk about, why is it just a second? I'm not sure why it keeps trying to connect to the internet. It's goofing me up. There we go. Here we go. We're going to actually kind of fly through this, and I don't know why it's doing this. Come on. There we go. As we go through this today, just any questions you may have, write them down. There's some certain boxes in there that you're going to go through. And the first thing I'm going to ask is, as you look at retirement, today you're going to understand that Social Security is what our main topic today. I didn't come here to do the car salesman trick on you. What I want to understand is that you need to know that Social Security is just simply a piece of your retirement. And if you understand how to manipulate that piece, it can save other parts of your retirement. It's not a piece that you have to waste and just say that that it doesn't exist. Or, just say that it doesn't really matter. You're just going to draw it and you're just going to waste it anyways. So, as this thing, let's see if it'll just close out for me. Maybe that'll work. The first thing I always ask people in retirement, as you're looking at stuff, a lot of people tell me that hope is their plan for retirement. I ask them, how are your investments doing? How's your Social Security look? How's your retirement look? And most people tell me that hope is their plan for retirement. And I don't know why it's doing this. It's giving me a hard time. Just a quick second.
I think you have to turn up the Wi-Fi.
Maybe I do. If I stand here, it doesn't do it though, because it knows I'm watching. So there we go.
Don't look away.
So I'm not looking. They say do it again. Let me do something real fast. Let me get off of here. Let's see if my Wi-Fi is giving me heck or something. Can't establish an internet connection. I don't want to. Okay. Trust anybody. Okay. The first thing I always ask people is hope you're planning for retirement. Some people will go, well, Greg, I hope my investments last. I hope I make enough money. I hope I don't lose it. I hope it's going to be there. I watched my parents go through that plan of hope, and what is the problem here today? Let's see if I can just turn off the internet maybe. Let's do this. Security election. Trust. Couldn't do this until anyone just decides to show up. Here we go. Let's do this. No internet. Copper kettle broadcast. Test. See it. Maybe that's what I have to do. Okay. Connected. It's amazing how they want you to connect to their internet.
What?
I don't need internet, but they want me to connect to it for some reason.
You're mine.
Here we are. Maybe that'll fix the problem. Okay.
They were just connected anyway.
All right. So here we go. Everybody online, technical difficulties. That's all right. This is the plan, and I'm going to slide through this. Just make sure that hope's not your plan for retirement. If hope is your plan for retirement, I don't think, to my experience with working with people over the years that I've been doing, hope is never a solid plan. At least when it works for your retirement. You want to have a foundation, okay? And also, you want to find out whose script are you using for your retirement plan. Are you using yours? Are you using your advisor's script? Are you using your neighbor's, brother's, uncle's, who owns a pool company that dug a pool and it worked for him? Or are you using your parents' script? You've got to find a script that works for you. Your financial retirement script. Okay, and that's the one thing I focus on at our company. And are you willing to learn how to surf? What I mean by that is the economy's always changing. And I'm not going to get into the COVID stuff and everything else, but what I will tell you is that I'm a history buff. And for the first time in the financial history, there's three things that are affecting the economy that's never happened all at the same time. During the Depression, there was one that affected the economy. Now we have three that are affecting the economy. We have the Black Lives Matter movement. Regardless of how anybody feels, it's affecting the economy. You watch businesses get boarded up and closed and things like that. You have the COVID, which is affecting the economy. And now the election always does, but there's three major things that are found that are affecting things that are going up and down. And the markets are fluctuating right now. So you got to be careful to figure out, are you willing to learn something new? Because if you don't know how to surf, you're either going to get run over by the wave, or you're going to be on top of it. Either way, you're going to have to do something, to learn. Some of the different stuff that, different questions. Does it make sense to take an early retirement? I'm not going to get into a lot of it, but as we talk about Social Security, we're going to get into that now. That part of Social Security, I don't have an answer for. When somebody says, Greg, it worked, it's not doing it anymore. Fantastic. When someone says, Greg, when do I take Social Security? If I haven't sat down with you and looked at your puzzle and looked at your financial portfolio, and then I don't know what your goals are, my answer to you is I don't know when you're supposed to take it. And I've had people get frustrated with that with me because they say, Greg, you just want to sell us a product. No, I don't know the answer to it because everybody's answer is different. You guys are married, and how young are you?
I just turned 61.
And how young are you?
62.
62. So you're at the age. You could draw. You're not too far off from your birthday probably, and maybe you could draw. If you're a few months out, you could start. But it just depends
We're
on...
both a year out.
You're both a year out, so you're...
62.
I know, but we're a year out for a birthday, so.
Right. But, when your scenario comes, there's many pictures. There's literally over 100 different ways to draw Social Security. And for your situation being married, it's kind of cool. Because you can look at your investments, you can look at your Social Security, you can draw your full, she can take a half a years until she has to... There's a whole different mathematical figure that you can do based on what you guys want to do. So when do you draw? I don't know. That's what we figure out by sitting down. Okay. How do you maximize Social Security? Well, the history of it, in 1935, on August 14th, President D. Roosevelt put Social Security into act. It started. Okay, and really Social Security is the oldest form of income on the earth. It started back in the Bible. The taxpayers went around and collected taxes, and the guarantee was if the peasants got old and hurt and they couldn't work and make an income, they were to be given a salary or a lifestyle back because they paid taxes all those years. Today we call that Social Security. We also call that disability Social Security. We also call that welfare. But that system started as early as in the Bible. That's where that was duplicated from if you really go back and and look at the actual real numbers. 1937, the federal, there was a different act that came into play where you started collecting, on that, and taxes were starting to get involved in that. When Social Security first started, there were no taxes at all. Then it got to where you could get charged taxes as it got put into the bucket with your other income. Now today, if it's your only form of income, you don't pay any taxes. But it has to be your only form, okay? By the numbers, the benefits, the first benefits started in 1940. Disability benefits started in 1956. In 1972, the COLA Act was written to where there was a cost of living adjustment, and that was paid out just in 1975. That figure right there is issued in 1936. 453.7 million were issued in 1936 with an added rate of 5.5 million per year. So even back then, there was a large number that was paid out. Okay. The ratio, here's where it doesn't work, and I won't get into this, but there's a quick understanding. If you look at the ratios to where it was, and the ratio to where we are back in 2017, the ratio where they expected at 2035, and the growth rate of where we expected to be at 2034. The reason why Social Security is struggling is because of that figure right there. It was built on a three-legged stool. It was never built with 4 legs. It was never intended to pay out to everybody. Everybody was supposed to pay in, but it was never intended for everybody to get. It was only meant for the people that were hurt, weary, and sick and needed it full-time or for a short period of time. So when we started paying it out to everybody, we were missing a leg. So we were putting too much weight in that chair, and now we're trying to balance it. So everyone kind of blames the government and everybody else, and whether they use some of the funds or not, we voted the act, the American people did, to change how we wanted it to work, and the president, agreed at some point and voted it. But there's not really any way to fix it unless we erased it and started it all over. So that the ratio of it, they're a lot different than what they are now. Just in 2017, it was 2.8 we're putting into it, and 1 was getting it. When it was started, 159 were paying into it, and 1 was getting it. The ratios are a lot different. Okay? So it's not to be mad at anybody, it's just the systems the way they are. But if it does continue, actuarially, it will be done in 2034. Your age group probably has nothing to worry about. Do I think that we are going to see Social Security? I'm not expecting it. If it's a bonus, I'm not going to plan on hope. And I hope it's going to be there. Some people use it for a primary form of income. Okay? So you want to get away from it. Yesterday and today, this is a history thing, when the first check was paid out for $22.54. How would you like to get that as your first Social Security check? People would not have been excited about that today if that was where they were going to get to. She lived until 1975 and passed away at the age of 100. We'll talk a little bit about the Cleavers and this type of family, looking at the word Cleaver and how perfect that show was, and mom was home, there was never any big problems, happy kids, father home to work, home to work, that lifestyle, that word Cleaver family, I don't know if that really exists much anymore today.
I grew up in that same family.
Did you? Yeah, I kind of did too. Yeah, my
Very fortunate, so did he.
I could tell you my grandpa had a still in his basement and grew his own tobacco and dried it. So it was an old farmer. So that lifestyle, can still be here today if you understand how to use it. The requirement, your RMD law did change. It required minimum distribution. You guys are a ways from that. It used to be 70 and a half if you had money in a 401k, or an IRA, or 403b, or 457. You had to take money by age 70 and a half. Now it's 72 and a half. So they're stretching it out. Okay. Using your statement online, if you want to look at your statement, you can go to that website right there. You can go register that. We can get that today if we fly through it. It's no big deal. You can go on, register for it, and you can see what your statement is every month.
Why do they send it out periodically? How often do they do that? Because I got one.
It's supposed to be every year, but they usually don't.
Oh.
But yeah, so they're going to actually get paperless pretty soon and start telling you that they want you to go online and do it. So everyone's going paperless, but that's how you just create an account.
Is that in here, or do you know that, Jeff?
That stuff is
That's easy.
but that's the site, just socialsecurity.gov/myaccount, and you go on that. You can Google that and it pops up, and you just open your own account, so you can start seeing where you're at. So, the benefits to tie to your work records. I'm gonna go through this. There's a certain amount of credits that you have to earn every year. In 2020, for every $1,410 earned is 1 credit. You can earn 4 credits a year. To earn 4 credits in 2020, you must earn at least $5,640. So most people will do that, generally in a month or maybe 2 months. But also keep in mind that they're only going to take a period of years, and we're going to get to that. But yeah, there's credits you have to earn for a period of years every year, to be able to qualify for Social Security benefits. So my mother never qualified. She was literally 9 months away from doing it. And because she'd been a stay-at-home mom and worked part-time, she didn't want to go back. She's just old school and stayed home. So 9 months away from it. They're going to take your 35 highest years of your earnings. Okay? Now you can add to that. If you get to, like my sister's husband, his first job out of high school was at GM. He started there at 18. He worked there 35 years and retired. That was his first job. The only job he ever had. You know, he stayed there and he was all done. But if for some reason after he retired, his 35 years, if there was 3 years that weren't very high, you can work 3 more years to beat those years if you choose to. So just, some people don't know that, and sometimes it doesn't matter. Just know that they take your 35 highest years of earnings. Okay. What is your full Social Security retirement age? Well, that's based on your birth year. Okay. Now the one important example that I'm going to give you to this right here is we had a client that came into our office here just about 2 years ago actually, and he had said, Greg, he came to one of our seminars. We'd sat down, we looked at stuff. He said, I'm drawing Social Security, and I'm not picking on anybody. He talked to his neighbors, brothers, uncles, cousins, they dug a pool, and told him when he needed to draw. Okay. What he didn't know is that he needed to wait because he was born in this area here. He needed to wait till he was 65 years old and 4 months. And 4 months. He drew at 65 years and 2 months. Do you think he got penalized for his maximum amount? He did. Because he didn't wait the 2 months. Nobody at the Social Security office is going to tell you that. They're not accountants, they're not CPAs, they're not financial advisors. It's not their job. They're going to tell you to go online and talk to a financial advisor. That they're not allowed to. That's just not their job. Now they'll give you this if you ask them, but you have to understand it. Okay, so he was frustrated. Again, he had somebody else's script and didn't have his own. All right, so just be aware of that. That's what I want to impress today, is to make sure you have your own script and understand where you got it from. So when you want to take your full retirement age benefits, again, that's figuring out what works best for you guys. It's not what works best for everybody else. And with what's going on with the economy right now, the last seminar we had some people up here. We had a lady that was 82 years old. And she didn't have any debts. She's a single lady. She's a widow. And she had no guaranteed income for life. She had Social Security. And she had $600,000 in a 401k and thought that it was a guaranteed income. Because a broker told her that it's a guaranteed income for life. Theoretically, would she have outlived it? I don't know. If we repeated 2008 and 9, some people that had that money lost half. So it just depends on what script. We were able to help her even at that age to turn some of that into a pension for her. Now she's at peace going, okay, now there's a guarantee that I can move around and figure out how to do that. So, here we'll run through very quickly on Social Security benefits. If this is going on the Beavers family, if the Beaver was born in 1943 and his full retirement age, FRA, is 66, and his benefits were $2,500 a month at his full retirement age, if he decided to take his Social Security at 62, his benefits would only be $1,875. And at that point, his wife's benefits is supposed to be half. The spouse can take half of the primary provider. Okay?
Right, they didn't work.
They still can for a period of years up until your full retirement age. So, for example,
But wouldn't she have her own?
well, this is where you can manipulate the numbers. So let's just say that you have your own Social Security and he has his own. Let's say your full retirement age, that you can actually hold it till 70. Your full retirement age is probably 67 and a half. We'll say 66. But you can hold it till you're 70 and a half, just like your R&Ds. Okay? So let's say that you wanted your Social Security to get as high as you needed it to, because you didn't have a lot of investments and you wanted to save your investments and you wanted them to grow. So he could take his full amount, you could take half of his until you had to take yours and then kick yours on while your investments were growing. I don't want to give all my secrets away, but that's a part of our planning and how we spend a lot of time figuring out how to manipulate your estate to make sure it does the best it can. Okay. Is there a good time to take Social Security? It's kind of like a bucket. You have a big bucket of water. And imagine that if you took it at 62, your bucket pours slow, and they're dumping out at $1,875 a month. If you're 66, you still have that same bucket. Well, to pay it out on their estimated payout schedule, they have to open the bucket up faster, don't they? So are you getting any more money by taking it earlier than you are later? there's your answer. So you have to figure it out. Is there a break-even point? There is. Usually by 82, there's a break-even point. So there you go as well. So does it matter when you take it? To some people it does. If they have a tiny pension of $806 a month that I see some nurses having, and they need that Social Security to survive, then yeah, to them at 62 they probably have to take it. But to other people that have pensions and 401ks, it's juggling what ball you want to hold on to first. So when would I break even? Well, the break-even point doesn't really matter. It's just an actuarial thing. Most people don't care when you break even. You're happy for the income and you're going to use it. But there is a break-even point that after you've paid into it, most people are going to get more back. If you live past the age of 82, you're going to get more than what you ever paid into it. Okay. So that's one piece of the puzzle. Now, for qualifying for your benefits, that's another conversation. A non-working spouse we just talked about can receive 50% of the working spouse once they start drawing. Okay, so if you've never worked in your life, he's the primary income guy, you can draw half of his. And then knock on wood, if something happens to him, then you get to keep his and you lose yours. You get to keep the higher of the two. Okay? If you never worked before. The same goes that if you both had worked. If yours was not as high as his and you had your own, and his was higher, you get to keep the higher of the two. So you'd lose yours and keep his. Or if he was the lower, you'd keep yours and lose his. So it just depends on, even as a married couple, and you both have qualifying figures, you'll always keep the higher of the two.
You don't get both of them?
No.
Yeah, we get both until you kick off.
Until somebody passes away. Well, she's picking on you, isn't it?
He's going first. My
So-
mom just passed away, she was 97, my dad was 97 as well.
So just to repeat it, if you're both drawing full Social Security, and knock on wood, she's picking on you. You pass away, and we'll say that yours is higher. She loses hers and she keeps yours. Let's say, we'll flip it around. Let's say when you pass away, yours is lower than hers, she loses yours, and she keeps hers. So she'll always keep the higher of the two. But when you've passed on, she doesn't get both. Okay? That's where I come in. Da-da-da, to help you with some of these. Okay? I have to show that little music in it.
On the white horse.
Yeah, on the white horse, I can come with Tonto and the long range, and no one even recognizes that anymore. So I'm going to kind of fly through this because those are examples that we just talked about on how it works with different numbers here. You're not divorced, so we're not going to talk about that. You're not going to get divorced, so we're going to talk about that, right? So you guys are good? All
We've
right.
been married, 37 years.
So there's no reason to anymore. There you go.
No, just wait till one of us dies.
He's probably got a man cave, he's happy, he's good.
That's what it is.
There we go. So we're not going to talk about Will's benefits. There's a whole other program now. Okay? Working while you receive benefits, there is a ratio. There's another screen that talks about that I'm going to take you to. It's going to show you the screen on how that works. Okay? And here it is. There's your screen. Here's your benefits while you're working. At age 62, if you continue to work and drawing, your benefits are reduced $1 for every $2 above $18,240 that you earn. Now this is the 2020
Wait a
numbers.
minute, let me ask you something.
Yep.
You have to make more than 18,000 before you have to pay $1 on every $2.
Yep.
So if you make 16,000, you can get your benefits and keep your entire salary.
That's correct.
All right?
That's correct. But it's 18,240. So if you did 18,000, you're still safe.
Okay.
So there you go. I don't suggest you make 239 because that's getting real close. See, there you go. Then the year you reach your full retirement age, during that year, it's reduced $1 for every $3 above $48,600. Now, once you reach the end of your full retirement year, there's no reduction at all. You can make as much as you want. So, what are the taxations on it? Well, simply put here, filing, and I'm gonna, this is where we can sit more independently and talk and figure out what it looks like, because these numbers are very general, they're not specific, okay? But these are provisions of what you can get taxed up to, what the amounts can be subject up to, and there's different ways to file and kind of maneuver that, okay? Then I work with our accountant to make sure that we get the right tax numbers, because they change sometimes with the year and your salary and your income, so I don't depend on the slide. This is a general slide. We use our accountant if you don't have it, okay? you know, offsetting government pensions, oh, something fun I can tell you today. I just got certified to be a government pension advisor today. I'm taking over the whole state of Virginia as of today.
What?
I am.
Virginia?
Virginia.
Why Virginia?
That's what they gave me.
All right.
So, 'cause
You're
there's
gonna do it by
there's
Zoom.
not really anything like in Michigan. All of our bases are closed.
Oh.
So I'll do Zoom from here and all that stuff. Yeah, I just got, because there's a lot of government stuff happening. How does it, you know, offset pensions? The example for pensions are different than with the government. I won't go through it because you're not in the government, but there's kind of a trick there. Sometimes they're paying you what Social Security would be up until you reach Social Security, and then your salary drops, and then Social Security kicks in and picks up what they were paying. So it's kind of tricky with some of the government salaries. But you guys don't need to do that, so we won't worry about that. Medicare and Social Security. If you're receiving benefits at age 65 from Social Security, just understand that your benefits, Part A and Part B, will be reduced at age 65, you know, from your check. So Medicare Part A and Part B, you pay for. You know, you hit 65, and you're going to get a letter in the mail saying, hey, if you don't want to cancel Part B, do nothing. Don't send that letter back. If you do, you cancel Part B. Just keep the letter and keep it. Just know that Part A and Part B is paid for out of your Social Security checks. So there's a reduction on that. So don't be surprised at 65, you know, the government's taking that. Medicare is taking your money because it's paid for. And if you have company benefits, Medicare is no primary, your company instantly falls secondary. And then they work together. Okay. That's another conversation we can have that I work well with that, helping you pick the right stuff. If you have good eyes and good teeth, don't pay for eyes and dental through your company plan. It's cheaper to do it on your own. We can tell you how that works. Okay. Social Security message to the public. This is where it talks about how to restore Social Security. You know, I talked about in the beginning with, you know, how Social Security being a piece of the puzzle, and just trying to understand how you can use that. The only way to fix Social Security for the numbers, the ratios change from 159 to 1, and where we are, you know, the numbers where they go, is to actually totally wash Social Security program out and start over. Or to make it solvent and to be protected, you would have to change some of these things. You would have to reduce benefits to everybody that's getting paid Social Security. You have to say, well, you're getting paid. We need to make Social Security stable. We're going to take part of your check. Nobody would probably like that. Okay? There could be an increase in payroll taxes. Business owners wouldn't like that. A means test for benefits, drugs, alcohol, things like that. Florida's doing that right now. And they've been doing it off and on for a while. California's been doing that. Meaning that if you're on Social Security and you're openly doing drugs and illegal things, and you've been penalized a few times, you can lose your check for a period of time if you're not clean. Some people have mixed feelings about that. But California and Florida are doing that, and it's working well for them because it's cleaning up the folks that are just taking their check and doing whatever they want. So, but there's mixed feelings there. You can increase the retirement age, and that's happening now, 72 and a half from 70 and a half. They're already doing that. You can increase or eliminate earnings for cutoffs for Social Security and payroll taxes. So being self-employed, that would affect us pretty good. And in 2020, if we did that, it would be a difference of $137,700 just in payroll taxes on average. Doesn't change it a whole lot, but those are numbers that can be played with. But that's what it would take to fix Social Security, so it didn't go bankrupt. Okay. When the Social Security Reform Act came into play, Social Security payroll taxes were on high-income workers. They raised the retirement age and they revised the permanent and future benefits. The biggest thing that this is what I want to impose on. You shouldn't make a decision likely delaying benefits based on the fear of Social Security going bankrupt. So don't make a decision off of fear. The guy your neighbor that digs pools for a living, your brother's uncle's cousin, some of those people will tell you, take Social Security because it's going to go bankrupt. You better get it. I don't trust the government. Take it now. I know a lot of people that I've talked with over the years that take Social Security off of fear. Don't take it off of fear. If you have to take it because you know you have to, not because you're afraid to. That, gosh, if I don't take it, it's going to be gone. You know, take it for the right reasons. Okay? Again, it goes
It
back.
is a legitimate fear.
Well, but don't take it off of fear, though. If you, I agree with you. I do. I don't want to dismay that. Because there is a fear there. But just because I'm afraid that I may fall off the edge of the cliff doesn't mean that I have to be afraid that I'm going to fall off. I take precautions. I step back, put a parachute on. I put a carabiner on, and I rappel backwards. And, I can go forwards and have fun like I did in the military experience. I mean, there's precautions you can take. And that's by understanding where your estate is, of when it works for you, okay? Because how cool would it be to not have to depend on Social Security and just know that it's extra money, and if your estate was set up like that. So these are some of the differences. Maximizing your benefits. This is where I want you to understand that Social Security is a puzzle. It's just a piece of what you're doing. And I don't know about you, but I like doing puzzles. But I don't like it when the center piece is missing and I can't find it. I don't mind it when a corner is missing or a piece off to the side is missing, but that one in the center bugs you because it's just not finished. You can't see the picture. Social Security, if you don't understand it, is that center piece. You can actually use it as a benefit and not as just something that I have to take. Okay? It can save your other investments. All right? We're going to show you that real quick. So delaying claims until until you are going to use them later on qualified accounts first. So delay claiming until later while using your qualified accounts first. So a qualified account is anything that you haven't paid taxes on. 401ks, 403bs, 457s, IRAs, anything that your company took out of it and invested in. You've never paid taxes on that money. So you could delay taking it until while using your 401ks or your income products or some of your other stuff. You can do it that way. Social Security gains are guaranteed 8% per year in a delayed credit. That's been renewed this year. That comes and goes. Okay? So if you delay your Social Security and you stretch it out, there's a guaranteed 8% gain that it gets every year you don't take it. Okay, so you could use that if you understood the actual numbers on how do you do that. Well, humbly, that's where you need a guy like me that understands both everything. Couple of your Social Security benefits and withdrawals from your non-qualified investments at age 70 or can age 72. So you can couple your Social Security benefits and withdrawals from your non-qualified accounts. Your non-qualified accounts are things that you got paid. You went to a broker or a bank and you invested your money, and you get a 1099-R every year, and you pay taxes on your gains. So you're losing compounded interest. So there's things that you've got non-qualified accounts that don't qualify for tax deferral, and you've got qualified accounts that qualify for tax deferral. Okay, so there's different ways that you can do it. All right. But the other thing that's cool is, as we talked to somebody 3 months ago, many times I've done this, where they have $400,000 or $500,000 or $300,000 sitting in a non-qualified account that they're paying taxes on every year, and they don't really want to take their money. You can turn that into tax-deferred money if you put it into a pension. There's different ways to do that. Now it's tax-deferred, and they don't ever have to take it. So there's a lot of manipulating tools that you can manage with Social Security. At the end of the day, start to assemble the pieces for a worry-free retirement. That's what we're going to show you real quick. I'm looking at, I got my Social Security checks. Do you both have 401ks and pensions? Okay, so do you both have 401k? You probably have a 401k, no pension. Or a 403b or something.
I have a 401k, and I have one that I rolled into something else from Upjohn.
Okay, so you're at Upjohn. I have a lot of clients from Upjohn, Stryker, GM, they're all over the place. Bronson, Borges, all over. Oh, Parker Hamilton? Yep. I worked with a few people there. Man and Humboldt. Yep. Over there. That's Armstrong. I do a lot of work in Armstrong down
So that's on 3 Rivers?
Yep. Yeah, their claim to fame is they made the pumps that sunk the Titanic in the way. That's their claim to fame.
Wow.
So here's kind of what we do. Factors to consider when you're claiming different things. Before you take any of your income or plan your Social Security, you want to figure out what are your retirement goals? What's your current health? What's your family health history? You talked about that. You're convinced he's not going to be around as long as you, so, you know, I'm already sad for you, but it's all right.
It's all right.
You know, my dad just had a triple bypass,
Yeah.
and he's like 21 weeks into being, so he's already planning if he's going to be gone before my mom. So I hear this all the time now from my dad. So, retirement assets such as 401ks and IRA accounts, you know, what does that look like? Factors which will impact your longevity needs and your budget. You know, the one thing, you know, I'll tell you this on top of what I've learned is when you folks have taught me one thing over the years, that when you reach the age of about 60, you're not as concerned about how much money you make. You're concerned about how much you keep. Because what you keep affects your spendable income, which affects your lifestyle. I haven't had anybody at the age of 60 that came into my office that said, Greg, this is how much I made last year. You know what they tell me? They go, that's what I got. Can you help me? I go, well, you made this. They go, that's what I got. Lady came in, say almost $600,000 in you know in unqualified money, and I said, well, how much did you make last year? I don't care. That's what I have. So it's interesting. The mentality changes. So it makes sense. If you're not a millionaire by the age of 60, unless you're going to be like me and keep trying to do that, I'm a rare breed. I'm kind of goofy. Most people aren't going to do that anymore. They just want to go golfing, go garage sale, go down US 12 and spend all the money. You know, the longest garage sale in America, US 12. They do it, you know, they do it. We probably don't do it anymore now. These are some different numbers. When an advisor like me sits down, you know, I'll tell you Social Security. My example was Social Security, and when I learned honestly my value in the community. In 2014, my office was on Center Street, across the where New York Life used to be. They had a big building there on Center Street. In 2016, FINRA and the SEC came in and said you can no longer sell variable products to anybody over 59 and a half. Well, that was 75% of New York Life's portfolio. Selling variable products, variable life, variable universe, variable annuities. You know, the word variable, what does that mean? It means there's no guarantees. And it just didn't work for folks over 59 and a half. But before that, they came over to my office. They walked into my office. The president from Vince from Grand Rapids, and said, Greg, I'd like to offer you a $50,000 salary one time to come into our office for 6 months and train our advisors on Social Security. And I said, I'm a competitor. Why would I do that? Well, because we're losing a lot of clients to folks like yourself. And I said, why? He said, because when our clients at 60 come in and they talk to our advisors, they say, can you teach us about Social Security and when we can take it? And none of our advisors know a thing about Social Security, and they would say, well, go talk to the Social Security plan. So they would get in their car, come across the street, they come over, talk to me, and I'd get caught. But I worked hard for that, because I had to learn a lot about Social Security. You can imagine my response to that. I didn't do that. You know, you guys go learn about it, and they didn't want to. So there was value in understanding all the pieces of how it really worked, and the mentality of how people changed. These are factors that we use as financial advisors to figure out how we can help you. We can do a social security benefits plus your other income sources plus your retirement. That equals your retirement income. Maybe that's what your scenario looks like. Or maybe your scenario looks like this. Maybe you have your Social Security benefits with your other income, with your pension income, with your annuity income, with your withdrawal income. Maybe you have dividend income and interest income and your RMDs, and that equals your retirement income. Maybe that's what your portfolio looks like. Or maybe it just looks like that. There's different factors that we look at when you show us what you have and you tell us what you want, and we figure out that with your goals, and we go there, and that's what it is. So that, I know a lot of people like to do their planning by themselves, but I openly know a friend of mine who's a dentist here in town who owns a practice, and I would never want to give myself a root canal because I think I can figure it out. We each have our areas of knowledge. Okay. There's another example that it just keeps going. So, it's not simple, but the question is when do you grow? And I've answered that question. I don't know until we sit down and talk. I just don't know. And then when we do know, does something happen like it happened to us in 2016, which could change that picture when I was at Mary Creek? Which quite wonderful. They have a great yogurt bar up there. It's probably the only thing I know.
They have what?
They have a great yogurt bar down in the cafeteria. Oh, it was fantastic.
We haven't been down there. They have really good coffee.
Yeah, they do. They have good coffee. I was there when they did the opening of the Big B. The mayor came in and clipped the lid. We were there that day. So, kind of interesting. We talked about when, how. Well, which assets to use first when you talk about drawing Social Security. You're going to couple that with something. So which ones do I use? What percentage of guaranteed income do I have right now? So look at, when you picture yourself retired today, take everything you have and write it on paper in different phases. 401ks, pensions, non-qualified accounts, checking accounts, Social Security. Draw it all out and figure out how much of that is guaranteed income. Social Security, Social Security is guaranteed. Your pension can be guaranteed. But beyond that, nothing else is guaranteed. So you got to figure out how much guaranteed income you have. Percentage of income from the market assets that you want to take. Keep in mind that, when I was a broker, when people would come and go, Greg, I'm 60 years old and I want to move my money to an equity index, annuity. I brokered for a while, and Bob, you got to remember, you're in this for the long haul. If you move your money now, you're going to incur some losses. But you're 62. How long is your haul? I didn't ask you that part. I'm 48. My haul could be a little longer.
Yeah.
It could be. Okay. So you got to do it. That's where you got to use your script, not somebody else's. Okay. What withdrawals are you going to take? What RMDs are you going to have to take? And how are you going to work after retirement? That's all a plan that goes into play, and we help you figure all that out. Retirement doesn't have to be difficult. We've helped a lot of people retire over the years, some before they expected to. Some made more money than retiring before they expected to, because we helped them look at the whole picture and figure out what it was. Okay? So why? Well, funding a budget or funding the quality of life in retirement? That's what you got to figure out. Right now, if you could retire tomorrow, and I'm not saying you could, but if you looked at the numbers and I said, you know what, based on what you told me, based on your life, you could retire tomorrow. If you keep working, are you simply funding a budget and trading hours for dollars? Or are you funding the quality of life in retirement? That's what you got to look at. At some point, you're just trading hours for dollars. At some point. And that point's different for everybody. So what does your retirement list look like? I know when I talk to people, some people want to travel, some people want to go grocery and buy an unlimited amount. One lady told me she wanted to go on the grocery shopping game show. That was something she wanted. I didn't even know that still existed. Where you go in there and they compete on how fast you go to the grocery store and throw stuff in. Do you want to pay for your grandkids' school? Do you want to pay off your kids' college? Do you want to give more to your church? Whatever it is you want to do. Whatever you want to do in retirement. Do you want to buy a Harley and go for a ride? All that stuff. All that guy stuff. So maybe you want to go to Shipshawana and live down there for a bit. But don't go to the flea market. There's a million stands of everything that being the same. It's all the same stuff. I have to go down there Saturday, for an event down there. So.
You get to, you don't have to.
Yeah, you get to, yeah, that's right. So here's what Social Security here, how are you going to bridge the gap between your 401k investments and Social Security? How do you bridge that gap? Well, retirement income looks like this. It's your life expectancy, which yours is apparently not very long. I'm hoping it's longer. Inadequate savings, inflation, taxes, uncertainty in the market, rising healthcare costs, unrealistic expectations, and bad advice. Those are some of the challenges that you have in creating your, a solid retirement income. There are 6 pillars that factor your Social Security income, as far as your retirement. You have retirement goals, you have current healthcare goals, you have family health history goals, you have your assets, and you have factors that will impact your longevity that needs a budget. So if you have any of those health factors, those are things that you got to take into play too. I have 2 special needs children. I have one autistic son that's getting ready to be 22, and then Isaac, he's getting ready to turn 21, or 20 actually. They're both a little special needs, so we've got to factor in those long-term things as well. The key to successful retirement planning is determining the balance of the guarantees and the risk. That's really the simple answer. But how do you balance the guarantees and the risk? My grandfather taught me one thing. He said, Gregory, if you could put all your money in the center of the table and light a match to it, how much would you burn? You're in full control of it now. You took control of all your money, how much would you put at risk? So you ask yourself, you're in the market, that's okay. Not beating that up. You've got your money growing, losing, going left and right, up and down. At some point, how much can you lose before losing is enough? It's a fair question, you know? And if someone says, well gosh, in 2008, I lost $250,000. Just not, I've heard that a lot. Well, Greg, I can't move my money because I've only made $150,000 back. You haven't made anything back. You're still trying to get the growth, the negative. You haven't made anything. When I show people on their statements, the one lady that we just sat with, her broker told her she was making 8% a year, and her statement said 2.1 negative. What he was telling her is that over 20 years it had averaged 7.5% over 20 years. But it was going up and down. So at some point you have to figure it out. So how much can you lose before losing is enough? And we'll talk about the 4% rule. Really doesn't work a whole lot anymore these days. It doesn't work like it used to. The economy's changed. It's a different environment. People used to wear bell bottoms and elevator suits. That doesn't work anymore. The environment's changed. Okay. This is the fun part here. Is when you look at your portfolio, and there's three areas. There's your low yield area, there's your low to mode, and there's your growth. This is risk, this is mild risk, and this is fixed. In this area you got taxable, liquid, bank, CD, savings, and checking. Most people put, the old rule looked like this, is you would put 10% in this. This is what people would used to tell you. They tell you to put 30% in tax-deferred and moderately liquid. And they tell you to put 60% all in risk products. Because you're going to grow, hopefully. We go back to that hope type thing, okay? And remembering how long is your home. Those are important things. But the interesting part is this, is that rule number 1 is to protect your principal, rule number 2 is to protect your gains, and rule number 3 is to protect your income. How do you do all 3? Well, some people's answer is that they look at the red, they say, well, what does that mean? Well, if you're in rule number 1, in the red rule, it must be actively managed. That's what red money means. It must be liquid, and it must be long-term. Any of your risk money, your red money. Well, if you look at the example of what here, this is an actual statement of what if the bear market happened again 2000 through 2009. In a portfolio that was managed like this, there was 10% of their money here. They had 0% of their money in the capped money, what we call green money. And they had 90% of their money in the red money, which is managed money, money at risk. Well, the other client that we had did this in the same time frame. And Warren Buffett, when asked about planning in a bull market, only when the tide goes out do you find who's swimming naked. People are hiding. Well, this gentleman did this, and he had 10% of his money in safe money, 60% in more of a fixed low market growth with no risk, and 30% in a full risk managed money account. The difference between the two, same time frame between 2000 and 2009, this portfolio came out $109,000 ahead of the other market because he flipped his numbers. He put 60 in the low growth. That's an equity indexed annuity product. It produces in the market without any risk. It doesn't get a chance to make as much as it could in the market, but there's no risk. That's a pension, okay? Some people want me to do this. They say, Greg, first I ask them, what is your greatest priority? Most people say they want to save money and they don't want to lose money. Most people say, and then I ask them, what are you willing to give up? Gains, liquidity, or protection? So, okay, Greg, can you mix this up for me? Can you put some of the red in the yellow? In other words, can you give me a fixed product with some gains with no risk and have it totally liquid? No. Can't do that. Well, can I get a pension product with a guaranteed income to put some money over here and have all and benefits and have it totally liquid? Partially liquid? No, can't do that either. Well, how about we put some of the protected in the risk growth and have us fully open to the market and get all the growth, but know that it's not going to go backwards? No, we can't do that. So you got to figure out what you want, when you want it, and what are you willing to give up to get. That's really what you got to figure out. There's a way, okay? And if there's a way that I can show you how to do that, it might make sense to learn about it, do you think? That's my first hook, but you know. So I'll ask you again. If I could show you how to protect your money without it going backwards and still have it open to market growth, and you have control of it and have guaranteed income for life, would it be worth learning about? It would. That was my first sales hook right there. I give all my secrets away. Okay? And what percentage of the income do you want to guarantee? The 4% rule does not work anymore. What percentage of your income? I don't know. The last lady, 50% of it, or about 60% of it worked well for her. But for other people, that doesn't. Okay? She was 82. Her haul was a little shorter. So, the 4% rule doesn't work in the low interest rate environment. Green money column guarantees that a portion of your income and works together with your Social Security benefits to create an income stream you can't outlay. That right there is an equity indexed annuity, or what we call a guaranteed income for life product. That works with Social Security. Because now we have a guaranteed income here, but what if you could turn this on and delay your Social Security knowing you didn't need to take it? Or turn that on, turn your Social Security on, leave yours alone, and now you can take the spousal. Or turn hers on, because yours is higher and you don't have to take it. Take your spousal support off of hers and let yours grow. And if she had there's so many factors here, you know, she can play with. So what percent assets do you want growing to protect against inflation? Well, the 4% rule doesn't matter if you use the money right. The red column guards against inflation. Okay, it does guard against inflation and works together with your Social Security. Benefits and green income to create an income stream you can't outlive. So it's a guaranteed income for life. Much like when my dad, they took money out of his 401k at General Mills, they popped it into an equity indexed annuity with a guaranteed income for life, and now he's got that guaranteed for life. We took his General Mills the other part of his 401k, because he had two things going on there, and we put that into some open liquid products, and we laddered that with two other different types of annuities that he could ping pong and go over, and he still had a bunch of it. So there's so much stuff that you can do to protect your income and have more control over it than what you maybe do now.
Plus he has you.
He does, but I'm not going to charge any more than what I charge him, and I'll tell you why. Okay? And that's the truth. That's the truth, because you know where I'll tell you where I live. You can hunt me down. So I don't want to do that. And I'm almost done. This is an actual statement from a client that I absorbed. This is an equity indexed annuity example. The red line represents the S&P 500 in 1997 to 2018 in the market. The green line represents an equity indexed annuity, and the blue line represents a fixed product, a fixed annuity. Okay. So from the example of this is how does it work? Well, people like the equity index or the market when it's doing this. It grows. Oh, Greg, I didn't grow very much. I didn't get any growth there. Well, you got some of it. Remember that trade-off? What do you want? When do you want it? What do you give up? You're going to give up some growth for the guarantee. Then when the market tanked, everybody down here said, gosh, I wish I had that product. Because your growth is guaranteed never to go backwards by any fault of the insurance company. Okay? Then it continued. The S&P never caught up to it. Oh, it got here. And in 2016, it jumped above it. And everyone down here wished they had this. Then immediately when they get up here, they start dogtailing this one. See, I told you I was better off. And then it comes down here and it goes. So at the end of the time, the equity index annuity still today will outrun the stock market still today. Because it doesn't go up and down. It only goes up. That's to life insurance products. Do you know why people like Donald Trump, Warren Buffett, Oprah Winfrey, and people like that are very wealthy? Because 75% of their assets are in the green line. That's why. They can go bankrupt as many times as they want, and it's an insurance product. It can't be touched. So they bounce right back. Okay? I'm wrapping it up. This is just an example of what the Great Depression, the different things of what it looked like. If, you know, that's 40% of it, that's equity indexed annuity products. That's the S&P. Equity indexed annuity products, that's the S&P. You can see what it did during different points in time on the recovery. You know, it took the market a long time to recover back on the part that lost, because it was all open to risk. It was at that point that the insurance companies, the federal government said that the insurance companies now have to have what's called a dollar for dollar reserve. So every dollar you have invested, they have to have a dollar reserve. That's when that dollar reserve concept developed, was in the Depression. Because Social Security was not a real big thing back then. It was just kind of new and cool. It wasn't really needed. It was just, hey, we got it, and it was kind of moving around like jello. So 5 steps to your retirement income for life. 1, we got to sit down and talk about, what your Social Security benefits are and determine them. You have to determine how much you want liquid of your assets. You have to decide how much you want to risk. You have to decide how much do you want to protect. You have to decide your B money with your Social Security benefits for your guarantees. And then use your C money to battle inflation. The biggest thing, that I can tell you is, as we're closing, there's a Social Security review that I put together. And I openly used to charge $250. I actually can. After I got out of the hospital, I decided my life was going to go a different way. God was good. I wasn't going to charge that anymore. And I was just going to help the people that I could. I've openly lost some clients because they don't see value in me not charging. I get paid, but you don't pay me directly. The insurance companies pay me based on the money you invest. And it doesn't come out of your investments. And I'll talk more about that specifically when we get together. But the only thing, that I can tell you is this, is as we've talked today, the reason you came, I don't know why you came up. You were super excited. I told Jenny, I said, she's been one of the most excited people to come to a seminar. I didn't care if anybody else came. I sat here at 10 to 6 and nobody was here. I said, I don't care if anyone else comes with this couple. This lady was on fire. I openly said that sitting right in that chair. And to the people online, I hope you're excited too. I forgot the people online tonight. But, I'm going to tell you this. In all the years that I've been doing this, I love what I do. And I believe that very humbly, you won't find anybody better than me than what I do. Not because I have some certain product nobody else has, but because of the services we offer. For example, I sat down with this last lady, and we're helping her with her will and trust, and we're not charging her for that. Our attorney will charge very modest for her. We're helping her with ladybird deeds to keep her assets so Medicaid can't take it. We're helping her with positioning stuff for special needs for her children. We have a budget program that we do. We have a life binder that we patented that we use for our clients and anyone that comes on board. We see or talk to our clients 4 times a year. Not once, every quarter. Either phone call, texting, visit, or Zoom, and we help walk you through everything you do until the day you tell us not. Now, I know you're already working with somebody, and that's good, because every one of the people that helped build my agency all came from somebody, because I don't do that part. I do the back end of it. They do the growth part, I help you with the last hole. It's like golfing 17 holes, you get to the 18th one, you need somebody to help you figure out what you're going to do after it's in. And that's what we do. So with that, fill out that survey, set an appointment with us. There's no cost to the appointment. This picture that you see up here is a review of after we sit down together. Everything's totally 100% confidential. Whether you're doing business or not, we'll sit down for one appointment. We'll gather everything confidentially. You'll tell me your script, your whys, and what you want to do. I go back to my legal team. I have 150 years behind me. I have a marketing team in Arizona, and I have a marketing team in Florida. and I have the number one brokerage company, which is called BlackRock, excuse me. They are the largest brokerage company in the world. Two more, just give me 5 more. They actually are the mothership of everybody under them. Edward Jones, Ameriprise,
Larry Fink,
huh?
Larry Fink,
Yeah.
he was a client of my son's in Alaska. My son's a fly fishing guy.
Yeah.
Nice.
And they got along fantastic. He invited him to Denver at Aspen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got a place out there.
Yeah. Casey couldn't make it, but he really enjoyed him. And Larry said, if I come back, he wants my son as his guide the whole week he's there or whatever.
Wow.
I could tell you stories about it, but that is our. For me, I had to work hard to get there, because anytime I have an estate or my clients need review, I've got BlackRock that oversees it on all my advice. I've got a law firm locally, Miller Canfield, plus the insurance law firm and 2 marketing companies. I have to have a marketing firm to handle my licenses. So I have a team of people that make me look intelligent. So I give them all of their information, and in about 30 minutes, they send me back an illustration. And then it goes reviewed by a legal team after that, and their firm, and the accounting firm, and I come back and I look really intelligent. But there's 150 years of experience behind me. So I'm going to leave you with this. I appreciate your time. Fill out that, give us the time to get with you. And the only thing I can promise you is this, is even if you don't do business with you, now you'll come back and do it with me later, because I don't think there's anyone around here that does what we do.
When we get together, what kind of information do we need to provide?
Let me say goodbye here and we'll do
Okay.
that. Well, I can do that in general.
Okay.
Just in general, when I meet with somebody in general, we want to get a full picture. We want to take their skull off, and we want to see what's going on in there. My sister's a neurosurgeon too. So things like your financial statements, your 401ks, your pension programs, non-qualified account, banking account, savings and checking accounts. We want to see the full picture. Not that we're even going to work with the full picture. Okay? There may be just a part that we work with. And then, we'll find out average, checking and savings, 401ks, pension programs, all your financial assets. If you have properties, we'll talk about those properties. Anything that your full estate is. And when we sit together, we can organize that. And I'll show up in probably jeans. I did this just to make a first impression. Most people don't even like financial advisors in suits anymore, believe it or not. The more wealthier people I find seem to get offended when I wear a suit. They want me to put jeans. The people that make a little money, they want me to get all dressed up. So either way is fine. But yeah, that's what it is. They're going to get ready to bring your food in here,
Okay.
and then I'll be around to answer questions.
Okay.
And pick a time to get together. And obviously, it's going to have to be in the evening for you, which is fine.
Right. I'm not sure yet because it's going to take us a while to get our crap together.
Well, and that's another thing that we do. I'm going to tell you something else. We do what's called, Jenny, you can knock this. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody online. We will follow up with you to get you information on what you need, but comment below as to who wants to get together, and we'll definitely get together. So, guys, it's been fun. I appreciate it. But something else we do is we do what's called a life binder. We started this years ago for the smokers. A lot of my clients were going back and forth. There's like 2 mini Kalamazoo's we ordered. One in Fort Worth and another down there. And there's trailer parks.
The villages.
Yeah, that's what we call them. No, trailer parks. They get upside
No,
down.
the villages like the rich people.
Yeah, not just there. It's interesting. But we do life binders for all of us. We help you organize it. That's why let's say you do business with us. And a portion of your money goes into a product that fits. Then you got another product that's still money that Edward Jones over there. We help you organize all of your stuff into one folder. My wife puts it in dividers and clear sleeves. Your brokerage accounts, your health insurance, your life insurance, your car insurance, our products, anything else any of your portfolio, we help organize it. We and once a year we review that. We take out everything that doesn't need to be there, we shred it, we keep all the new stuff, and we hand it back. But every quarter we meet and answer questions. The first year you get with us, you're gonna have questions. Because somewhere along the way, someone didn't tell you the truth, you had a bad experience, it didn't work out for you, why are you any different? So even after you make that investment and give us a little bit of trust, we make sure that we continue that to make sure we gain all of trust. That's why every quarter, you're gonna have the same questions over, and I'm okay with that. But after that, we're gonna continue, so. Go ahead and pick, now my suggestion is let's pick a day and time now.
I
And if
wasn't
it doesn't-
certain, so I'm gonna have to get with him, because I don't know where half of our crap is, but,
No.
I have everything in here, right, your information.
Yep, that's fine. You know, and we'll pick a time to get together. And really, if you just know the numbers, that gives us an idea. It's not till we make transfers, like if you have a product, you can actually transfer out. You say, Greg, I've got a 401K and it makes sense and I'm in charge of it and I can move it around for the rest of it. Then that's where the paperwork comes in. But, you know, when we're first getting together, it's just the numbers that we can say this, so. I'm gonna let you go ahead and eat. And,
Thank you very much.
overall, this is the time that you can tell me, openly, how do you think we went, other than first difficulty? Was it worth you guys better than helping?
Oh, definitely.
Did it come across as a sales pitch or a conversation?
That's me.
Okay, because that's important.
That's not me.
Because I know so many, you could be in Florida and never have to buy a meal. You could go to a breakfast seminar, a lunch seminar, a dinner seminar, and never have to buy a meal. So these seminars, I always want to make sure that they're informative and not a sales pitch.
No, it's
I
okay.
didn't sound like a sales pitch at all.
I mean,
Very
anything else?
informative. Can I have some
That's
pen
it.
please?
Honey mustard? Anything else, guys? I'll be bringing drink refills as well.
Wonderful. I'm not driving, so bring it.
All right.
So yeah, you know, so that's good. But, you know, I always ask people how we can do better. And things like that. Yeah, I was super excited for you to come up. When everyone else said they wanted to go online, I sat in and I said, this lady's fired up. I said,
Well, you know why? Because we're approaching that time where we really need to get our ducks in a row.
yep.
And we don't have that many ducks, so you know, we get those statements from Social Security, I'm like, are you kidding me? So my number one thing is paying the house off.
Well, and that's, you know, as you take a look at everything, is if you've got a limited amount of ducks, in other words, if you just, you know, your pensions, I don't know how your pension is, but you know, you have to figure out, is your pension really a 401K that's gonna turn into a company pension? Or is it actually a pension that you have no control over? You know, that's the first thing you wanna find out.
Do we know this?
You know, is as young as he is at age 62, Tyson Young, he probably has a pension with no 401K. But he could have a pension that is actually a 401K.
Thank you, guys.